everyone, I'm Stacey Holland and welcome back to Real Health. Inflammation is a defense mechanism in the body. The immune system recognizes damaged cells, irritants and pathogens, and it begins the healing process. But chronic low-grade inflammation is thought to be one of the leading causes of disease, premature aging and illness. So to shed some light on this topic is with us Dr. Werner Kerschbaumer. And inflammation isn't a bad thing. As I mentioned, it's when it goes on and on for years and years. So when is it actually a good thing?
Just to reiterate, the acute inflammation is actually a beneficial thing to your body.
That's like when we exercise and we get, the muscles break down and then they build up again.
When you pull a muscle like I've done, or when you get a splinter in the finger.
Yes.
And it goes red, it swells, it's painful. That's a normal reaction of your body trying to heal itself.
Yeah.
Okay? But chronic inflammation, now again, you get two types of chronic inflammation as well. You get a chronic inflammation, which is just normally associated with some types of chronic diseases. For example, arthritis.
Yeah.
It's inflammation driven.
Yeah.
We know that.
Autoimmune diseases.
Some autoimmune diseases, but or irritable bowel syndrome, for example. We know that it's, not irritable bowel syndrome, but inflammatory bowel disease.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely, inflammation is 100% the driving force there. But then we get another type of chronic inflammation, which is a low-grade chronic inflammation, or also called silent inflammation. Okay. So that type of inflammation happens because the other inflammation doesn't get switched off. So the pathways don't end, and that type of inflammation over a long period of time can trigger other disease processes. So there's ample research, and they've known this for several decades already, that type of inflammation is linked to most of our chronic diseases, and we're talking about non-communicable diseases there. Okay.
So lifestyle diseases.
Things that are included in lifestyle issues, but it's also been linked to neurological conditions, for example, Alzheimer's. It's been linked to dementia. It's been linked to depression. So it's really far-reaching in terms of what the issue is. And unfortunately, in mainstream medicine, it's not easy to counter that problem because anti-inflammatory medications are not necessarily safe to take over a long period of time. So,
and also there's been a history of perhaps abuse and overuse of anti-inflammatory medication as well.
They have some serious side effects. I mean, if you look at the insert, it clearly tells you for a short period of time. Most of your anti-inflammatory medications will say do not use longer than 7 to 10 days because there are some serious potentially serious side effects involved there.
So when does this acute inflammation, when does that switch to negative low-grade silent inflation? When does that happen?
It's a difficult thing to say.
Is it a time frame?
It's not a time frame.
No.
No. The reality is that it's an interplay between oxidation as well as inflammation. All right. So if we understand the theory of oxidation in the system, what happens is that you can have a small injury in the body, and that leads to inflammation happening. Okay. Now, if you keep on injuring the body in the same way, that inflammation is not going to go away. That's one mechanism. The other mechanism is oxidation. If you think of oxygen, it's all around us. We need it. It's our best friend, but it's also our worst enemy. Through the process of using oxygen and deriving energy from it, it actually becomes unstable. That's the very simplified process. So through that whole cascade, it generates unstable molecules which lack an electron. Those molecules are detrimental to the body because they are looking for an electron to become stable.
And they literally wreak havoc in the body.
That whole
looking
process,
for that extra electron.
When it takes yes, it literally wants to grab an electron from your body. So when it does that, it causes cellular damage. And that's what we have to understand about disease is you don't get sick as you're sitting there. Your body doesn't get sick. It's the cells that get sick. It starts at a molecular cellular level. So through the oxidation, that whole process, if it keeps going on and on and on, what's the body's reaction? it's an injury.
Yeah.
So the body inflames
it's
itself.
Under attack, literally.
Yes, it causes low-grade inflammation. So what causes oxidation? Things like if you smoke cigarettes, poor nutritional habits, eating too many of the wrong foods consistently, getting too much of the wrong type of exercise. People don't think exercise is bad for them, but the wrong type of exercise is not good for you.
And in the wrong state.
In the wrong state, etc. Air pollution, emotional stress, work stress, all those things can cause oxidation. So all those things can contribute to inflammation happening in the body.
Yeah.
Do you see now why I'm saying it's a little bit more intricate than just saying when does the acute inflammation switch to chronic?
It's not a black and white issue. There are a lot of areas of grey.
Yeah.
So then what is the counter to inflammation? What is anti-inflammatory besides taking an anti-inflammatory?
Sure. So from my personal point of view, professional point of view, and also in my family, I mean, I grew up in natural health. So our approach is always going to be nutrition. Okay?
Yeah.
Because nutrition is the one thing that you can do right, which will make up for all the other things that you do wrong.
Yeah.
Or all the other things that you can't control.
Yeah.
Nutrition can make up for it. None of the other things that you do well, for example, exercise. Exercise cannot make up for bad nutrition.
Yes, that's true. You cannot out-train a bad diet.
So it's the same for all those other factors. None of them can outdo diet. So it's lifestyle, but specifically look at what you're eating. Okay. So then one needs to look at pro-inflammatory foods and anti-inflammatory foods. So pro-inflammatory foods would be things like, and you've probably touched on these things in the past, refined sugars, refined carbohydrates, foods with highly processed foods, foods with lots of chemicals added. Those kind of things you've got to try and eliminate out of your body.
The wrong fats,
out of your
those
nutrition.
trans fats and omega-6s.
Exactly, trans fats. So that's the starting point.
Okay.
And then introducing foods that are anti-inflammatory.
So we've discussed it before, that turmeric is anti-inflammatory, and the question has been in what quantities and doses, because if you've been eating it for many years, if you come from Indian background or heritage or that type of cultural background where turmeric is used regularly, then perhaps you don't need therapeutic doses. But what's your thought on this? And then cayenne pepper as well. One would think, you think of cayenne pepper, you think of the burning sensation, surely that's not anti-inflammatory, and it's about getting our head around this.
Yes. So turmeric firstly. We've got to understand that the active principle in turmeric is called curcumin or curcuminoids, because it's actually more than just one.
Yes.
The one has been studied a lot. It's clearly been identified to have specific therapeutic effects, but it's not the only one.
Yes.
Yeah. So curcuminoids, and specifically curcumin, is very poorly absorbed. Very poorly. The numbers vary depending on the sources that you reference, but it's around about 3% of the curcumin in your turmeric that you are able to absorb. It contains about 3% curcumin.
Okay.
Plus it's poorly absorbed from the powder that you would use to cook with.
Yes.
So nutrition is not the best source.
Of
even
curcumin.
though if you do use it in food, clearly you are getting some of it in. But a wiser way, if you want to use it nutritionally in food, would be just a very simple process of taking a teaspoon and putting it into boiling water. Not adding it to cold water and boiling it, but adding it to boiling water. You boil it for 5 minutes and you can drink that. Most people are not prepared to do that sort of thing, because it's not the best tasting thing. True. The reality is, most people are not prepared to take bad tasting things. All right. I grew up with natural medicine, so I don't mind. I'll do that sort of thing. But most people wouldn't.
So that's where your product comes in, the Fluoroforce Turmerynne, because it contains the curcuma longa. It also contains capsicum, and I'm assuming this would be black pepper.
Yes.
I won't give everyone the full names, but tell us why this combination is so powerful.
Look, there are so many turmeric products on the market. The vast majority of them focus on curcumin. And our brand, our company, our philosophy is to give you the whole herb as it comes from nature.
Okay.
As I said earlier, curcumin is not the only active in the in the turmeric root or in the turmeric as such. Okay, so we believe give you the whole thing and let your body absorb what it needs, and what it doesn't need, it's not going to use.
Because can one take too much, depending on one's view of the state of inflammation? Or would you advise then that instead of just grabbing this off the shelf and starting, that they seek, some form of naturopathic help?
Look, as with anything in natural medicine, there are things that you can very safely do for yourself. If you use turmeric in your food, it's safe. It's absolutely safe. It's one of those herbs. It's actually a spice.
Yes.
But it's one of those herbs that is very safe. However, if you overdo it, it can lead to some indigestion and those sort of things. Now, our dosage is within safe parameters, and for a natural product, in terms of the whole, not just a
portion or an isolated
concentrated, isolated portion of it, it's well within the therapeutic range, but also in a safe range. So our dosage says 2 capsules twice a day, or 2 to 3 capsules twice a day. But one can take more, but it's best to do that in consultation with a practitioner. That's what we always recommend is, if you're going to start taking capsules, if you're not sure, do it in consultation with someone.
Yes, and often when people think, but it's a natural product, I can sort of go to town with it. It's good to know that it is fairly safe, but again, and if you're dealing with particularly chronic inflammation, it's been around for a while, that, or you've heard some of the conditions that you've mentioned, and you say, I'm suffering with that, then seek help, of course. Absolutely. Where does one find this?
Well, in health stores, pharmacies. I don't know if I'm allowed to say pharmacies.
No, just general health stores,
general health stores.
Online, can they buy it online?
Pharmacies, they can buy it. We've got some of the well-known online stores, some of the organic online stores.
So you're looking for Flora-Force, the Turmerynne, right?
Turmerynne.
Okay, is that how I pronounce it? All right, fantastic. Well, thank you, Dr. Werner. I mean, that's very insightful. I think it's the first time we've understood that there's more than one form of chronic inflammation. We keep learning on the show. Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me.